You're listening to the Freio
Music Podcast.
To the Freio Music
Podcast.
I am Sky Allen. I'm originally from the Detroit area of Michigan. That is on the right side of the mitten, for those that don't know. And I play a few different instruments, but right now I play a lot of ukulele, and I also play a wooden box drum that was handmade and gifted to me. I do play a little keys and a lot of djembe, and I'm a singer-songwriter primarily.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. Let's start out, how did you get here? So we are at Arise Music Festival in Colorado, and you've been here before, is that right?
Yeah, I have. This is one of my favorite music festivals. Colorado is a beautiful state to go to a music festival in. And I do work with Starwater, who I originally worked with the first time I came to this music festival on a volunteer basis, working the coffee shop.
Nice. And this year you're playing.
Yes, that's correct.
So how did that work out? I mean, that's a big jump from volunteering to performing.
Yeah. Well, the first time that I went to a music festival, I was extremely inspired by the musicians and the artists and the visual artists and all of the creators that are involved in building a music festival and the microcosm that it is. I was extremely inspired by these musicians and these artists, and I knew that I wanted to take part in that movement in some way, shape, or form. And so it's always been that inspiration of seeing other people and how capable we are to accomplish these things that we've always dreamed of, and seeing it in a real tangible environment such as a music festival like Arise.
Have you been to other festivals?
Yeah, last year I did 17 music festivals with my own art gallery that I co-own, representing 15 different artists and
Visual artists?
Visual artists, yeah.
Okay. And so you're very experienced in the festival scene, it sounds. So what is it about Arise that has attracted you here twice?
Well, I would have to say first it's the community of people that are involved in the building process. The tribe that is here in Colorado is very awake and very creative, and they put a lot of energy into purposes and missions such as this. And Arise is a beautiful vision of what we are capable of as humans when we come together in a conscious manner in a music festival setting that is environmentally friendly, and taking practices to obtain that goal, as well as providing people with conscious music that is elevating.
Absolutely. We were just talking a little bit before we started recording, and you mentioned that you got a young start to music. Can you tell me your first musical memory?
My first musical memory must have been church choir when I was probably 4 or 5. And I remember looking out into the audience and seeing my mom laugh at me because she could tell that I was not singing very loud and that I was very aware of where I was and very afraid to be on stage. And she was giggling and smiling at me. And I remember that feeling of realizing that it was okay, and that I didn't have to be afraid, and that I could project.
So mom's smiles were in a way welcoming and encouraging.
Most definitely, yeah.
To keep going or to project, be loud, be heard.
Yeah, and that was a very. It's funny that you brought that up because that's definitely one of my first music memories that I haven't really thought about in a while.
Yeah, good. Well, that's what I aim for. I want you to dig deep. Okay, so beyond your first musical memory, what about your performance? You said you started out you were raised in a Christian family and you were in choir. And was there anything else that you played as a kid?
Yeah, I was in a lot of things growing up. I was very involved in the church choir, the children's choir, and then as I got older, the youth group choir. Um, I was also in every school choir that I could possibly be in, drama, musicals, any kind of stage experience that I could get into, I was into it.
So you liked being on stage as a kid?
I did, and I loved sharing my creativity. I had a voice from an early age, and I loved to sing from an early age, so it allowed me to do these things without very much fear.
That's great. So were there any particular courses or experiences that were encouraging, like maybe choir stood out or orchestra?
Yeah, so I went to a Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp in Michigan, which is a very prestigious fine arts camp, and I went for choir, and I ended up getting a half scholarship to go to this camp, and I went 2 years in a row, and the second year that I went, I was actually invited to go on the journey to Europe to share music in choirs all over Europe, and unfortunately I didn't end up going due to financial walls that were there. But I really learned a lot about my voice at that camp, more so than I ever did in any other church choir or school choir. It was very much focused on the dynamics and the extending of my range and focusing on really elevating my performance.
Great. And tell me about some of those insights. How did you come to realize the importance of dynamics? Was it a one-on-one session with a mentor or teacher, or was it a group setting?
It was more the power in singing as a group. I think is the biggest thing that I'm attracted to when it comes to music is the collection of voices and the power and the energy that it creates and the resonance and the
Enthusiasm
love and the
and the howls.
enthusiasm and the mana that comes from that is extremely powerful, and it's very prominent when you get to experience being inside of that vortex of voices, and not only inside of it but perfectly tuned, because everyone has put the time and energy in to make sure that every single part is perfect, and when it hits those exact notes, it's a feeling that you get goosebumps. It's an energetic release that's unlike anything.
So is it fair to say it's an experience, but it's more than just the perception that meets the ear? It's like a little bit different.
Yeah. It's an internal dialogue with spirit when you're singing, and when you're singing as a group, you're all doing that together. And not only that, but when you're doing it for people and you're sharing it, you're doing it with intention, with a group of people, with spirit. So that combination gives the transcendental experience that really, really good choirs can give.
You were into music as a child, but you were not pursuing the dream for many years, though the dream was known and you wanted to become a musician, but it was kind of on the back burner and you're doing other stuff until, some life-changing moments. Can you walk me through some of those?
Sure. I was a punk for a long time. And when I say punk, I just mean I didn't care very much about really much of anything, and I had to learn how to care. And I struggled with depression growing up. And so when I released myself upon the world at the ripe age of 16 and I left home, I went traveling, and I went to the only first place that I could think of, which was California. And I got on a bus, and I spent 4 days traveling across the country on a Greyhound. And I got off of the bus, and I arrived at the beach at 3 a.m., and I watched the sun come up over the ocean. And that moment was the moment that I realized that I could do anything, that I could go anywhere, that I could be anything, and that anything was possible. All I had to do was put the energy into it and dive in. And so that moment kind of sparked this journey of 7 years of hitchhiking the country. I've hitchhiked 48 states, I've been a lot of places by foot and by pack and with my dog Luna and my guitar, and um,
Now, on the road, do those experiences help shape your sound, or do you write songs when you're on the road?
I gained a lot of inspiration from the road. When I was on that journey, I wasn't putting a lot of energy into my music. I was using my guitar and I was using my voice to accumulate the abundance that I needed. But I wasn't actually writing my own tunes. I wasn't putting the intention in to actually make a career out of it, or even just to write my own songs. Now, I was writing a lot of poetry. I've always been a poet, and I've always written a lot of poetry, and so I definitely was channeling a lot of that. But when it comes to music, I used it as a means to get around, and I didn't put that much effort into it. I had to learn the lessons that allowed me to get to that point.
Tell me about how meditation and the practice of it has influenced perhaps your perception or your outlook of life.
I never really started meditating or thinking in that way until I started getting involved in activism. I was aware that things were different than what I was told growing up by teachers, by family, by most everyone. And I realized that there was more to the story. And so within that experience of waking up how we do, and especially with the internet being such a catalyst for us to learn the things that need to be learned and connect the dots to see the injustices and the conspiracy theories and the spiritual awakening that is happening. And I wasn't aware that it was happening on that level. So I went through that whole process and eventually ended up finding myself really desiring a revolution, really desiring a movement of change.
What changes do you speak of, and what changes do you want to see in the world?
I believe in a better way. I believe that we have been doing things one way for a long time, and I believe that we've lacked the wisdom that our ancients had, that our elders had. We forgot it along the way. We forgot the spiritual path along the way, and it got twisted and changed and retranslated and morphed and used for power and all of these things. So spirituality was a very interesting, life-changing experience for a lot of people, but it wasn't in a very positive way for a long time. And a lot of people might disagree with me, but you look at all the wars fought, and you look at all the people that have died, and all of the ridiculousness that's happened because of organized religion. Not saying that organized religion is necessarily a bad thing, just that it can cause negative symptoms, and so. The changes that I see are the changes that we make inside of ourselves first and foremost. I believe that to change anything in society or in politics or in the environment or in anything that you really want to fight for in the physical reality, you have to go inward first, and you have to be able to change your perception of what is possible first and foremost, that it is possible to change these things or alter these things, because change might be a strong word. Alter or evolve these things. Evolving the practices that we currently have to be able to suit our needs spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, not just ours but everyone around the world. We have so many hungry, starving, dying, in pain people, and there's so many resources that are being wasted on a regular basis. So I think there's first an adjustment of perception to find that space inside where we can understand that we are part of the solution and that we are this answer that we've been waiting for, and this movement that we've been expecting to happen. It's already happening. We are that movement. We are those people. It's our time. And the elders have been speaking for generations, speaking to us, and the native tribes have been speaking, and all around the world, people are coming out and saying, this is enough. Things have to change. We have to do something different. And I think that something different starts with your heart, and it starts with how you perceive reality. And when you realize that we are the manifestors of our own destiny, and we are the catalyst for that change to happen, it might stop us for just a moment and allow us to put our phone down and turn the TV off and turn off all the distractions and see the truth that's really apparent, and it's all around us, and that's that we have the power.
What I do want to get at is that after you go inside and you realize that you are the catalyst for the change, as you said, you have to do something.
Yeah.
There is an action necessary, whatever that is. You can't just think it. Thinking it won't change it. So tell me about that and your activism and getting out there and doing.
So, as a lot of people who discover a injustice or an awakening to the truth, there's a lot of emotions and feelings that come with that, and one of those is anger. And I was very angry at first when I learned these things, and my activism was more from an anarchist standpoint of tear down the system so we can rebuild. And so that mentality led me to go to Occupy Wall Street in New York City, and I was involved in the protest there actively for 2 months, almost beginning to end. I was there for the last 3 quarters, and I lived in Zuccotti Park full time, and I protested full time, and I dedicated myself to that movement because I had told myself that whenever I saw the spark of a revolution or a change that I believed in any way, shape, or form, that I would be there to support or to ask questions or to incite what may actually be there as like a real potential to do something different. And so Occupy Wall Street was a defining moment in my life that allowed me to get out of my box. This is the time I'm going to do something important, and I'm going to do something that I believe in. And I left everything. I left my friends. I left my family. I left my dogs. I left my job, and I went. And as I evolved in that community, I started off with a lot of direct action and a lot of really aggressive maybe techniques that got me on the evening news and not in a good way. Black bloc anarchism is a way to take the blow for all the other protesters and people that are there from all different belief systems and intentions and when police, especially NYPD, is known for being aggressive, and their riot cops are known for being without a lot of judgment. There's a need for a warrior mentality. And I didn't understand what that meant at that point in time in my life. I felt a lot of anger and a lot of resentment, and I needed to outlet that. And so through that process of being very angry and being beat up a few times and pepper sprayed and involved in some really intense and scary experiences, but also extremely beautiful and powerful. The feeling of marching with 50,000 people down Wall Street will never leave me. Knowing that we came together in that way, and that many people consciously decided that there are things that are wrong, and we believe in doing something different to fix them. And whether activism or Occupy Wall Street, those protests, those direct actions made changes politically, to me, they made changes consciously. It allowed me to see the community that we were evolving there. In Zuccotti Park, all the supply needs were met. We had a supply tent. We had food being made and prepared by people that were volunteering. We had, full on-staff EMTs. We had, we had a library, and we had affinity groups to deal with every element of this microcosm that we were building. It allowed me to see what we were capable of.
Great. And I think that speaks to, the sense that music festivals are also like a micro city, and they're temporary in nature, typically. And
Also a form of activism.
And also, a form of expression and standing up for what you believe. Now, tell me about some, your shift of perception and some rainbow gatherings.
So, via my experience at Occupy Wall Street, I met a group of elders that were involved in the Rainbow Family, rainbow gatherings that actually happen all over the country, all over the world, all times of the year. There's a national rainbow gathering that happens here in the U.S. every July over the July 4th weekend. It's our prayer for peace, and we all come together in thousands, 20, 30,000 people all gathering to build a village, and it is a form of activism, but it's the flip side of the coin from Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street is like, F the system, and Rainbow is I'm sorry, Occupy Wall Street is fight the system, and Rainbow is F the system. We were really fighting, and with Rainbow, it's a pulling out and tuning into a spiritual center in yourself that allows you to believe in the universal consciousness and the universal family that we all share as humans, and that is our tribe, our human tribe, that we are all one and together in this, and that we, you are me and I am you, and we're all reflections of each other. And so that is a very powerful belief structure within the Rainbow Family, is that we are all one and we are all the same family. And so everyone is accepted, and everyone is there, and everyone is in an immense amount of love, and it's a very peaceful and loving environment. And the first thing that you're going to hear when you walk into a rainbow gathering is "Welcome home, brother, loving you." And it's a very, you feel the power in that. You can't walk 5 feet without getting a hug. So when I learned this from these elders that this was going on, and I needed to see that, and I went to my first rainbow gathering, and I had started meditating at Occupy Wall Street around the Tree of Life, and it was this tree that we had. There was a bench all the way around the tree, and we'd sit in circle and ohm and pray and meditate together. And instead of focusing on all the chaos and craziness that was around us, and for just a moment, for a few moments, it disappeared. And it was the first time that I really truly left my body through meditation, through meditation in that environment, which was an extremely profound experience for me, with the volume and the craziness, and then being able to center in and really truly harness that mana that we have, and ascend into that etheric realm for just a minute. It was like I popped my head into that world and popped my head back out, and I needed to learn more about it, and so I went to the Rainbow Gathering, and it switched my perception completely. My anger started to fade. I dissolved into love, into this profound knowing that I have this purpose, and we all have this purpose, and this purpose is to love and to include and to build tribe together. And that's what a rainbow gathering is we build a tribe in a village. Mud ovens, mud stoves, immaculate kitchens made out of branches and natural elements, and we all come together and ohm and sing our heart songs and pray together. And one of my most profound experiences there was sitting around the heart fire and listening to Elder John tell stories, and these are all hard stories that have been passed down for generations through this process since the 60s. And hearing him sing and also tell story and poem, and seeing the way in which it was presented in this "We are love, we are one" conscious lyrics that were filled with truth, and not religious truth or educational truth, but just raw spiritual truth and self-affirmations and prayer to spirit, to be at one and to be at peace. And when I heard this, it really inspired me to listen to that kind of music, and via that experience, it opened my world to prayer and to a spiritual path and a walk that, even though I grew up in a Christian home, had never been truly prevalent for me. And so that combination of Occupy Wall Street and Rainbow, mixed with the hitchhiking that I had done prior, was a huge flip flop in my reality, and it put me into that direct purpose.
Those gatherings, in a way, kind of dissolved your anger and created something in its wake. And that expression is something that you have pursued. And so tell our listeners about the mana and how your music affects it, and define that. And I've probably used it in the wrong way, but go ahead and define that for everybody, and kind of how music brought you to Hawaii.
Yeah. So I currently live in Hawaii most of the year. I was living on Big Island, and I say living because most recently, Pele, our volcano goddess, decided that it was time to construct while she destructed, and that construction via destruction was mass and very scary and very intense, but also beautiful, to see our island growing, and also to feel that sadness of people losing everything. So I say living because I was living there, and I'm will be living in Kauai, I believe, is the next plan. There's a chain of islands, and most people forget that, but Kauai is the smallest, and it's the furthest away from the volcano. So I'm going to go there for a little while and enjoy some clean air and lack of earthquakes. What brought me to Hawaii? What brings anybody to Hawaii? There's a calling. Anybody within this community or any other feels it, and this spirit of aloha and this energy that is Hawaii. It is a vortex, and we are living on a living being. Mama Earth is a divine goddess, and we are blessed to be walking on her skin, and Hawaii, you're just that much closer. And you're at her heart, you're at her center of creation, and you're seeing it, you're feeling it actively, and so that calling is a very strong divine calling, consciously, that allows for walls to come down and layers to peel off, and that call is profound, and you hear it everywhere. When I was called to Hawaii, I had been seeing signs everywhere: radio stations, license plates, conversations with friends, walking through a grocery store and hearing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." It was happening over and over again, and Hawaii was coming to my reality. And I went to Shangri-La Music Festival in Minnesota, which is Wookiefoot's music festival, which I will be playing this year. Just a heads up. And so that place is a collection of our Medicine Tribe family, our active tribe that is pushing this movement forward and really culminating the energy. And so it's where all of our Medicine Tribe musicians like Nako and Trevor Hall and Wookiefoot and Dustin Thomas and and Satsong, and you get all of these really active, conscious musicians, as well as artists and the tribe surrounding that, and that is a microcosm of creation that is in Minnesota, but is also mirrored in Hawaii. Most of the people that are there are also resonating in Hawaii as well. And so when I realized that I wanted to move forward and start making music was at Shangri-La, and I noticed that this inspiration was there, and I was being called to Hawaii, and I knew it was because I was supposed to work on my music, and I was supposed to put that energy in, and I didn't know that it was for all of the life changes and spiritual deep healing that I needed to do while I was there to accomplish my music.
Yeah. So what is it about Hawaii that attracts musicians? And for me, it's a very relaxing place. Now that's when volcanoes are not erupting. But what is it about Hawaii and the mana there?
Well, it's the mana. The mana is the energy. The mana is the source, the life. The real deal. It's the and there it's potent. We feel it everywhere here too, especially in places like Arise, where it's a conscious gathering of beings that are resonating on that frequency, and so you feel it. Hawaii, the land, is also resonating on that frequency, and it pulls you there, and then it keeps you there, and it teaches you. And you go to Hawaii, and everybody will tell you the same thing: either the island swallows you, or she spits you out. And some people have extremely terrible experiences when they go to Hawaii because they go there for one reason, and they're not aware that spirit is working through that island, and you don't really have much of a choice once you get there, because you're in the vortex, and so you just naturally, in your reality, your life starts evolving, and you start coming to terms with a lot of maybe false truths that you've told yourself for so much time. Or for me personally, it was a lot of self-healing and past pain and baggage that I needed to let go of, things that I've been holding on to, and energy that was just attached to me. And there, the veil is thinner, and it's easier to accomplish manifestation. It's easier to accomplish things via that mana, via that energy, because it's so strong. And so with my music, I had to go through that process of digging down deep and really finding my soul and my spirit, and who I am and why I'm here. And I know, and I've known through vision and through prayer, that I am here to be a musician, and not just a musician, but a force of creation and of inspiration of this movement. I believe very strongly in a conscious movement for change in the world, and so with my music comes that connection as well, to the active lifestyle of constantly living your life in service. And when you fall and you slip and you fall out of integrity, you're aware and you're conscious, and you pull yourself back up, or your tribe helps you to pull you back up. And those conscious thoughts and changing your reality and your perception allows you to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish most. And when I realized that this island had broken me down and then was starting to build me up, it was with music. And it allowed me to really write my prayers and my heart songs, and I began writing, and I was very much influenced and aided and inspired by the multiple musicians surrounding me that are there in Hawaii, and all people that I've played with now and have become really amazing friends with, and we are a close-knit family of musicians that I know that I can call any one of them and say, hey, I have this question, or hey, I'm really having a hard time right now, or hey, like, you're doing amazing, or whatever it might be. We're all really supportive of each other, and I never felt that before on that level, let alone sharing my own music, and sharing my story and sharing my talent. And I had never been in a song circle experience other than at a rainbow gathering, where multiple people were sharing their own music, and it was a a beautiful experience to be surrounded by so much inspiration. I worked with a musician out there by the name of Freio.link, and she's an amazing love light musician and conscious healing musician that is actually in the process of recording her own album right now, and she's doing a fantastic job. And she helped me to blossom. She helped me to write this music and to not be afraid to share it. And then once that catalyst was there, the tribe around me really helped to support this music. And now I have sets across the country at music festivals, and I'm building a mission.
So tell me about the first time you recorded a song, or when you really started writing more recently.
Yeah, so I've been in the studio. Hieroglyph Productions. David Devine, he's an amazing producer out of Boulder, Colorado, and we've been working together for the last few weeks on the last 3 tracks that I've been working on. Love Connects Us All and Look Inside and Remember. All of those are part of my new EP, and I am very excited to share it. And I just dropped it today on SoundCloud and Bandcamp.
That's awesome. And where can everybody listen to it?
Yeah, so SoundCloud.com/SkyAllenMusic, and if you want to go ahead and download it, SkyAllen.bandcamp.com is my page there, and I do have it's a download by donation, so whatever you feel like contributing. If you don't want to contribute anything, don't. Please take it and use it and share it freely, and also follow me on Facebook as well. I do a lot of live streaming. I do a lot of poetry as well, and that will be an installation that will be coming soon, more so. I do a lot of that on my Facebook, and that's Sky Allen Music on Facebook as well.
Great, and that's SKYALAN,
yes.
correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so you just recorded those tracks. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting. It was also really hard. I didn't realize what I was getting myself into, and I don't think my producer did either. He, with me anyway, he's an amazing producer, and he puts so much time and energy into making sure it was perfect for me, and I really appreciate that. When I realized that I could hear my own voice and that I was putting a lasting imprint in my reality.
Yeah, you're stamping that record.
Sharing myself with an infinite amount of people. It was exciting and scary at the same time, and so it took me a second to get used to it. But I'm extremely excited to announce that I will be working on some more tracks with him in the studio. We're going to be doing some collaboration tracks, me and Hieroglyph, and then I will be going on tour. I'm going to be stopping off at Shangri-La Music Festival. I have a set there at the Dome stage on Sunday at 1 o'clock. So if you're at Shangri-La, please come and check it out. It's an amazing festival. It is the culmination of what we are all trying to accomplish, in the conscious community. It's a real example of what we are capable of in the festival community.
And Sky, in case somebody's not in town for Shangri-La, where could people find future tour dates? Would that be on your Facebook page?
It's going to be on my Facebook page. I will be creating a website currently, but all my events are there on the Facebook page. Go ahead and like that, follow that, and that'll keep you up to date with all my new events. And I have been adding a lot more dates. I'll be playing Vibe High Music Festival in Wisconsin. I also have a few dates set up on the East Coast. I'm doing some collaborations with Freio.link and Michael Bernier out there. Shout out to those guys. And I'll also be working with the Trichromes as well, an amazing New England jam band. So I'll be doing some studio work out there with them and get some, hopefully get some nice, funky, fresh tracks for y'all.
Nice. So that's an exciting tour schedule right off the bat, as soon as you press some new music. Tell me about some of those songs that you recorded. Are any, obviously they all speak to you and you only play from your heart. So what is it, we could just jump into one of them, what is it that really resonates within that music that you wanted to get out?
Great. One of my favorite tracks is starting to become my favorite anyway, is Remember. What I'm really trying to accomplish in that song is a prayer. And that prayer came through for myself, and a self-affirmation in a time where I was going through a difficult separation of energy in my space and in my reality and in my family, and I had to deal with these emotions, and I had to deal with this pain, and I had to deal with the energy that was kind of accumulating in my heart, and so it was kind of a prayer to myself, and remember, recenter. It's I remember and I recenter. I remember that I am worthy, and I remember that I am power, and I am love, and I am grace, and I am all of these things that I'm wanting in my reality. Not that we're asking for these things, but we already are these things, and we're just remembering that, and then to take that information and recenter your reality, and in that truth and in that knowledge that it's happening right now. It's not happening in the future. It's not something we're searching for or trying to find. We already are. And so that remembering and that recentering is the first part of that prayer, and the second part of that prayer is breathing one breath of our sweet surrender. And to breathe one breath is an inspiration from Hawaiian tradition, which is to touch foreheads and share the breath of your brother or your sister or your auntie or your uncle, and it's a common Hawaiian tradition to do this in greeting, and it's called one breath because it's the breath. It's the breath of aloha. It's the spirit, and you're sharing your spirit with this person. You're sharing your mana with this person, and so to breathe that one breath is to not only breathe that one breath with your tribe, but it's also to breathe it within yourself and with spirit. You're doing that with spirit on a regular basis, and in that process, spirit has things to say a lot of times that you just don't want to listen to, and you got to surrender to those things, and you got to surrender to the truth that you're not exactly happy about, and you got to surrender to the energy that might be really overwhelming. You have to feel it to heal it.
So how do you sing about an internal feeling or dialogue? How, when you center yourself, how do you really express what goes on without words?
When I go on stage, I am in an active prayer. I pray for the universe and spirit to give me the ability to be a conduit. And what I mean by conduit is to be a channel for that energy to come out and to be present in the room. I believe that we have this energy within us, and not within just us, but everywhere, and we have the ability to channel it. I do some freestyling in my sets, and I don't. I just open myself, and I let those truths kind of just flow. And I think the biggest part of it for me is to receive this energy that I'm praying for and manifesting in my path, and extend that outward into the audience that may somebody may really need that energy work and that healing, and for me, I am healing on stage. For me, I'm healing my heart. I'm healing my pain. I'm healing my past and my baggage, and I'm healing those layers that have been wounded and scratched and tarnished along the way, because I'm receiving this prayer, and as well as praying it. I'm singing it, but I'm receiving all of the singing and the energy and the dance that is coming back at me. And so for me, I do it because I believe we can change consciousness together, and I don't think there has to be a separation between musician and fan. I think we're together as one tribe, and I think that, especially through music, it's a universal language, and we can all speak it, whether we can sing or dance or just stand there and feel it. We all have the ability to create this energy and share it with one another, and so that's my goal, is to be a conduit for this energy to come forth that we can share together.
Great. All right. Momentary break. So, who's a pirate?
I'm a fucking pirate.
Cool. All right, so going back to where we were, expressing the unsaid, or the meaning that doesn't originate from words. And to me, that's what a lot of art is an expression of something, and that something does not necessarily translate perfectly into words. Now, as a musician and a poet, you're kind of forced to use words to discuss the topics at hand. But at the same time, music, you can have a feeling, like there can be a note that hits some emotional chords. Tell me about being in the studio and working with that producer. I know that's like a new experience. You haven't done it before, and therefore there must be a little bit of uncertainty or nerves. How is it getting in a studio where suddenly everything's dead? You're not in nature. You don't hear the waves. Everything's silent, and you're looking at people through glass. And, how is that being in the studio?
Man, bringing up the waves, I miss Hawaii. I it was a kind of a culture shock coming back from the island and coming back to Babylon, and being back in the city again. And going into the studio was a magical manifestation that just came. David Devine offered his services to me in trade to feature on some of his tracks. So as I am a starving artist as of now, and relying on procuring my own income, he knew that I didn't have the financial ability to record, but he believed in my music, and he offered me the opportunity to record.
That's amazing. So how did he must have heard you initially?
Yeah, he did. I played. We knew each other in Hawaii, and we actually, Love Connects Us All has Ocean recorded in it, and David actually recorded that Ocean at a gathering that him and I were at together in Hawaii, at a beautiful auntie's property. Her name is Linda Hand, and she is an amazing elder, and has an amazing space on this beautiful white sand beach that's completely private, because it's within a Hawaiian village, and so only a select amount of people have ever been there, because they don't allow non-Hawaiian lineage in this community. But because we were invited by Linda, we were able to experience this beautiful place, and it was one of the most amazing experiences that I had when I was on island. I actually got to swim with dolphins in the wild for the first time in my life, and that was a huge inspiration for my music as well, and in the surrender, because I'm afraid of deep water, and there's a fear there, and so long story short, I as I was watching the bottom drop out, and we're getting really deep, and I'm just floating along with my flippers, I had to surrender and give in to the fear, and know that I was protected, and know that this is something that I really want. And so for me to get it, I gotta let go of this energy that's attached to me right now. And I did, and I got over the precipice, and then I kept swimming out, and I swam with the dolphins in the most beautiful of places, and I'll remember that memory for the rest of my life. The visual is there forever.
Well, that's a magical meeting,
yeah,
if I've ever heard one.
It was a medicinal meeting. I had actually ceremonially taken some medicine that morning, and I wasn't aware that the dolphins were going to happen, and it was an experience, to say the least, and we connected on a level that I can't even explain. They're human, kind of, like they look at you like a child, and they play with you, and they were swimming all around me and jumping over my head and spinning like within 2 feet over me, just splashing on the other side. And I swam with a pod of like 20-30 dolphins. And anyway, in this water, all this energy was created, and this memory that will last forever with me. And Lenda's was just this beautiful gathering around the fire, and we all shared music, and it was a bunch of us musicians, and it was a very sacred birthday party for Lenda. And so it was a very amazing experience and a blessing. And when I got into the studio and we started recording Love Connects Us All, David goes, so what do you want to hear in this track, like as far as effects go, like, do you want, like, what do you want? I'm like, well, I'd really love to hear the ocean. And he's like, really? That's funny, because I have this recording, and it's from the day that we swam with dolphins at Lenda's. And so the ocean that you hear on my track, Love Connects Us All, is actually the ocean, the same water that on the same day that swam with dolphins, and had this prolific, beautiful epiphany experience, and I got to resonate that in this track.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so that felt really good that David had my back, and not only that, but synchronicities and
But had the sonic.
it was there. Synchronicities was just like, here you go, you want this, it's here, and not only do you have it, but it's perfect.
And you were there. Mm-hmm. You might have been splashing along those waves.
I was in the water when you recorded it, so it's just one of those things that the universe kind of puts in your plate and goes, reminds you that Spirit's got your back, and being in the studio and knowing that I'm supported by my producer, and that he's a friend, and that he likes and supports my music and is excited by my music, made it that much easier, because I wasn't working with somebody that I didn't know. I wasn't working with somebody that wasn't into my music or into the community that I'm in or into the same thought processes and like ways of dealing with reality. He understood the need for me to want to pray and call in my that energy, and he felt that need, and he filled every request that I had regarding my tracks, and and I was a little picky because it was hard for me, because I didn't understand what it meant to like hear your voice over and over again and like hear every little
Hear a 4-bar loop.
Man, it's not like you're singing it live, like you get to hear your voice for what it is and what it really is, and not what you think it sounds like. And so I was faced with like, whoa, I need to practice, or like not even practice. Well, of course I need to practice, but that these notes specifically I need to work on, or like it really allowed me to open up the dynamics that I hadn't really started looking at. It's all been really like raw, and so being able to have a producer that I didn't have to be self-conscious around,
and he could just let you listen back, and you could kind of pick apart your own.
Like, I don't like it, and he'd be like, "Okay, let's do it again."
Yeah.
And it was I really am thankful to have such an amazing opportunity gifted to me, and that's the same way that this set at Arise has procured itself. I work with Starwater, who is they're an amazing collection of people here at Arise, and they go to festivals all over the country and make coffee, and not only do that, but make vibes. They make energy, and they create a stage wherever they go, and they have musicians like me feature on those stage, and I've played. This is my third music festival with them this summer. I'm also of service with them. I work the bar. So this weekend, after my set, the next day or Friday, you can come get a coffee from me, and I gladly make it perfect for you.
All right. I mean, that's something that so many musicians have to deal with, as far as working multiple jobs, working a day job, playing music at night. Tell me about that, and how are you able to focus your energy on music while at the same time realizing that you need to have food on the table, you need gas in the tank, and you need to live.
Yeah. So I'm really it's something that's a challenge. I have a 4-year-old daughter named Willow, and she is the light of my life, and she is the inspiration for the regeneration of my soul. And she has inspired me to do so much in my life that I wasn't doing when I was hitchhiking around the country being a dirty kid. And so being able to play music, support myself, and support my daughter is a challenge. and it's a real one, and I have a lot of energy coming from my music side of life, but the current moment, my life, that isn't my music, I'm working on building abundance and trying to make this my career, and prove to my daughter that you can do anything that you dream of, that you want to do. It's there. You can accomplish it. And she's this little singer and little dancer, and she's been going to music festivals and dead shows and rainbow gatherings her whole life. She's lived in school buses and VW vans, and she's been everywhere and done everything, and so she's really cultured, and she's very expressive little 4-year-old, and so that inspiration keeps me plugging on this journey. Right now, to be honest, I do a lot of work trade on my personal life to balance it out. So right now I'm doing a work trade at Cynthia Rose's Healing Arts Sanctuary in Monument, Colorado. I'm a live-in chef, so I cook all the meals, do all the grocery shopping, and I also do massage work out of her healing space there. And I'm also studying under her. She's a shamanic practitioner, and so she does multiple different avenues of healing and work, just to implement that side of my spiritual path into my music and make sure that I'm walking the walk. And so I use a lot of opportunities like you can in Hawaii as well with work trade, where if you're putting your energy in another way, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. So I'm also looking at starting my own clothing line for my merch with Chris Posa, and he's an artist that's going to be here this weekend. Check him out. We will be getting other forms of income flowing, because right now it's purely energetic, and that's okay with me. I don't need much. I just want to give as much as I take. So when I'm focusing on that balance, I'm really just trying to stay in manifestation mode, which to me is actively praying and bringing the things into my reality that I need and that I'm really resonating with.
Great. And is visualization a fair word to go along with that?
Most definitely. Manifestation to me means to actively express what you want or need, how you plan on putting the energy in on your side, that you're gonna how you're gonna reciprocate that energy that the universe is gonna be giving you, that the universe is already giving you. Realize that that it's already happening. Whatever it is that you need, it's coming. It's in the process. It's there already. It's just waiting for you. So that's the visualization, is to actively manifest your reality based on your intentions, your words, and your thoughts.
Great. So you've had amazing success with this, and it's something that many, many people vouch for. It's hard to measure it, but it's something that happens. So one example of your manifestation, how'd you get that school bus?
Yeah, the story of the bus, the story of the van. So
and there's a few trades in there.
Yeah, it was a story. The partner I was with at the time, the mother of my child, actually, before we had Willow, we were hitchhiking around the country together, and we ended up in Oregon after a rainbow gathering, and we were really tired of walking everywhere and carrying our packs everywhere, and we both had a dog, so that was a thing, and so we decided that we were going to procure a vehicle, a livable vehicle, something that we could travel in and live in. And so we decided to go and sit in this one town that we just happened to be in, and realized that we found a good camp spot. So we said, we're gonna busk right here for as long as it takes to get this, and this need met, and manifest this vehicle that we need. And so we sat there for a week, and we played music, and we in the same place, and we decided after making reasonable money for a couple of days that we were going to stay there. And a week later, we had $800, and we bought an SUV off of Craigslist.
So you turned music into a vehicle.
Correct.
Within a week.
Turned music into a vehicle within a week, and took that vehicle to a rainbow gathering in California, And within Rainbow Gatherings, it's based on barter and trade. There's no cash allowed at a Rainbow Gathering, except for if you're donating to like the food or medical or something. And so what we did is we went and we were at the gathering for a couple weeks, and we ran into this woman that had this beautiful 98 Euro camper van with a Westphalia camper top, completely decked out in hippie paint. I mean, eyeball on the side, ocean on one side, space on the back, rainbow on the hood with a mushroom and an LSD molecule on the back windshield. You know, the thing was already ready to go, prepped, livable, had a kitchen inside, beds, the whole nine. We made a trade straight across for the SUV. She wanted a truck, and she wanted a big truck, and she decided that that's the truck she wanted, and the universe provided this home for us that would be our home on the road for some time, you know, and and it was the most amazing van. It was like the stereotypical, like, if I was gonna think of like the perfect amazing vehicle I could ever want, like, for traveling, obviously a VW bus, you know, not to mention painted up and ready to go.
Yeah,
you know?
that's awesome.
So we then took that to the East Coast. We were actually living in that when we found out that we were pregnant with our daughter, and we went back to the East Coast where where the mother of my child is from. And so there we stayed until we had our child, and we sat there for a few months, and we were like, we need to get back on the road and take our daughter and show her the world, you know, and show her all these music festivals and all this experience. And so we sold we sold the VW bus, and we bought a school bus, a short bus, and we ended up turning it into a little tiny home, and living out of that, and working jobs across the country, and selling art. And once we lived in that, man, that was the dream. But as things happen, you know, you move on and things change, and
Absolutely, but that's an amazing example of manifestation.
Yeah.
I mean, you were, for the lack of a better word, on the street looking for a vehicle, knowing that that's what you wanted, and you figured out how to get it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's in the power of visualization and knowing that it's gonna happen. A lot of people will pray and pray and pray and pray and pray for something, and it's more of like it's like a child at a grocery store going, I want. Does that kid ever get what they want? No.
Because he wants the whole grocery store.
Right. Or the parent gives it to him, and then the kid realizes that's not actually what they want.
Yeah, they wanted something else all along.
So, like, you don't get things by just begging for it. You got to really put that energy in, energetically and spiritually, for it to be part of your reality.
Hey, so something that I wanted to bring up earlier, and we can cut if it's not something you want to talk about on record.
Sure.
But swimming with dolphins, you were on a medicinal
Yeah, I
trip.
didn't want to say LSD.
You were on a medicinal trip. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, I'm all about promoting, medicinal substances in the right way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, jumping back in.
Got it.
Going back to your studio in the ocean, that recording, now we hear some beautiful wind here. The ocean and wind seem to flow together.
They follow me.
Yes, they do. The ocean, well, it's still got to catch up to you up here, high elevation. But so tell me about that night. You said you took some medicine, and tell me how, what that means to you, and how medicine can be advantageous in self-discovery and realization or healing.
I utilize certain psychedelic substances to enhance my spiritual and my personal walk, and as people have been doing for thousands of years, with intention and prayer and ceremony, and with a purpose. Now there is obviously a vast group of people that are not using illicit substances for a positive reaction or a positive transformation in their lives, and a lot of those instances are with drugs that aren't with that purpose, and I call those drugs because that's what they are. Now,
Give me an example so that people
so
can.
one thing that I see in the scene right now that I'm really not fond of is the amount of cocaine use that is just ravishing our festival scene, East, West Coast, everywhere, as well as heroin, as well as designer drugs that aren't even haven't people even been taking long enough for anybody to know what they actually do. Just recreations of MDMA or MDA that are really dangerous, and people don't know what they're getting, which is why test kits are important.
Yeah, so there's before we're in Colorado now, so marijuana is legalized, which is great for transparency and clarity and medical testing and things like that. But before that, and even still today, some employers would look down upon it, even if they are employed in Colorado, and therefore these kind of fake. One is called Spice that I've heard of. Fake marijuana comes out and is available in the store. And oddly enough, because they're not seen as a controlled substance, they're available to nearly anybody. So you could be a child and pick up this stuff, and as opposed to going to a store and being ID'd and being dealt with in a professional manner, some of this stuff is over the counter and in gas stations, and it is horrible for you. So
Yeah, I had a personal experience with one of those. I, as people do, they make mistakes, and I didn't have any pot, so I was like, oh, I can't find any pot. Everybody's dry. I'm just gonna go to the gas station and get one of these, and I had a seizure. I have never had a negative reaction like I've had to that ever in my life.
and that was your first time.
It wasn't my first time.
Okay.
No, it was just that the thing is that they actually change the chemical. They make one chemical makeup illegal, and so they'll just tweak it a little bit, and they'll add like an extra molecule here, and then it's not illegal anymore. So it's always different. You never know what the chemical actually is that you're getting, and so I'd only done it a couple of times before it, but yeah, I passed out, blacked out, and my girlfriend at the time had to resuscitate me. She said that I was seizing on the floor. It was a near-death experience,
Wow.
over something that's completely legal
And is sold nonchalantly
sold
with no
to people,
warnings and no IDs.
And they're like, so why are we offering a substance to our children, and to literally children, 18-year-old people? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but 18-year-olds, you guys have a lot to learn still. That's a problem. There's something, that's being marketed towards, a younger generation. They're putting Scooby-Doo on it and stuff, and calling it crazy names, and it's like,
or it's incense, and
Right.
therefore it's
legal
there
to
is no
buy.
age.
So it's with cannabis, none of those negative effects happen. Nobody's died. Nobody's people have died from spice. Nobody gets addicted physically. People get physically addicted to those things, and that goes with other drugs. And you either choose to partake or you don't. And a lot of people are starting to be a lot more conscious, thank God, about what they're putting in their body. I had to come to that realization and see that certain things weren't aiding my path, and they were not representative of what I believe in. And so when I look at the flux of cocaine use and amphetamines, it's that kind of it rubs me the wrong way, especially when we have such amazing medicines, or substances that can be used as medicines. They can also be used in a negative way, but if used correctly, they can be used to really transform consciousness and your ability to cope with your own emotions, and your ability to handle those emotions and actually address things and deal with them, rather than just bottle it up and numb them. People that take LSD or psilocybin mushrooms, I would say the majority of those people are taking them and learning something. People have experiences that accentuate their life, and they can go back to that experience and go, wow, man, I remember that. I remember that moment when, I heard the Beatles song, All You Need Is Love, and it hit me that hard. It hit me in what it really meant, and like what that really meant then, and like why they sang it, and like how powerful that is, and it's just little things like that where you can go back to those moments and realize that you had a profound experience, and you can't do that on all substances. So when I take medicine, I see it as medicine, and I offer prayer and intention over what I'm putting in my body, and that is I have not sat with ayahuasca yet. I think that's also a productive and worthwhile experience that I would like to have and be able to experience as well. But I would not be the person that I am today if it wasn't for the numerous psychedelic experiences and visions that I've had. And you could say that about a lot of people in history.
Moving on from medicine, I mean, we'll stay on the medicine topic of music, because music is very much healing.
That's right.
And is an expression of yourself, but at the same time, I feel like listening to songs by others can almost open up doors within yourself.
Right.
Was there any influences at a younger age or even today that have impacted your career or style of playing?
Sure. I belong to a beautiful human tribe, and and a lot of those people associate with this healing music. I started listening to Nako and Medicine for the People, a few years back, and towards the beginning of his career, and really resonated with his lyrics and saw the Rainbow Gathering in there. I felt what I felt at Rainbow Gatherings when I listened to his music. And then through him, I started discovering all these other artists that were centered around the same ideals. Trevor Hall, Tubby Love, and Chris Berry holding it down over there in Hawaii, and Wookie Foot, and all of these prophetic musicians that their purpose behind their music is to influence a change and a prayer and a spiritual intention and experience for people, to provide an experience for people to really go inside, and also to provide an atmosphere that is healing through their music. And so I resonated very strongly with that music as soon as I heard it, from all of these artists, and now I find myself playing with some of these artists.
So tell me about how it ultimately gets into your music. How does it permeate? How does it kind of inspire or shape your music?
It gives me the inspiration to say the things that I believe in, and the things that come through when I'm writing.
Because you've seen that somebody else has done it and it's worked out great.
I see that people are receiving it, and that not only is it needed, but that there is an audience that is willing to receive it, which is extremely important, because you can play medicine music all day, but if you're not, medicine music doesn't originate there. It originates, in South America, with heart songs and ayahuasca medicine ceremony shamanistic songs, that were meant to guide you through a spiritual journey. That's what a medicine song is. And so this is a new age recreation of that movement that's bringing people back to those ancient ways, and it's been done all through Native history, to places all around the world, where we sing together and we heal together, and so when I'm seeing these musicians that are inspiring to this spiritual path that I'm walking, and I'm given the ability to to stand up and say that I'm going to move forward on that path, and I'm going to take those steps necessary to share this music that I believe in, because I'm seeing the effect that it's having, and I'm seeing all these other inspirations that are accomplishing it. And when spaces and containers are created, like Shangri-La Music Festival, and like other conscious music festivals all around the country, it gives a space for that music to take place, and you see it translating into almost every other musical genre. Conscious lyrics are like bleeding out into the mainstream. Nako's playing mainstream shows now and getting out there and really sharing that message. And he's not the only one. And there's a lot of musicians that have this path and this purpose. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that there's a reason that so many people, and not just musicians, but visual artists and revolutionary minded people in general, we're all being called to this point in time at this present moment for a reason. We're all here right now, right here, for a reason. And I think that reason is to share this truth and is to expand our horizons, and clarify the view that we have been seeing through for so long. Like, we got to wipe our goggles off, and clean off the dirt and clean off the smudges and clean off the bugs and all the craziness and see clearly. And I think a lot of people are starting to do that, and that's where this music comes from, and that's where my inspiration comes from. Is that combination of like that rainbow heart song feel to seeing these amazing bands that are speaking truth, and that shows me that when we all come together in Hawaii, for instance, we all play together, that's what comes out. It's not like there's not that's what it is. That's the style that originates there, from that energy, from that purpose. And most of these musicians have been there into other vortexes around the country and around the world that aid their music, and people in those places are very supportive of that music. And it's a beautiful journey.
So I want to leave this last question for you and just ask if there's anything else you'd like to share, any links, websites, social media stuff, or messages for the listener out there.
Yeah, so I'll start with my links, and then I got one last word for y'all. So you can find my music currently at SoundCloud and Bandcamp. So that's SkyAlan, SKYALAN.bandcamp.com, or SoundCloud.com/SkyAlanMusic. I also have a Facebook page. Go ahead and follow me on there to keep in tune with new shows, new music, live streams, poems, writings, tour dates, all the good stuff. I am on Instagram as well, so if you want a little bit more personal look into my life and what I see on a daily basis, that'll give you an idea. One thing that I want everybody to remember and take away from their life in general in this present moment, wherever you happen to may be sitting at your computer or in a chair or walking down a street or waiting in your car in traffic, know that you are the power and the love and the grace. Know that you are all of the things that you're envisioning for the reality that you want to see. Know that you have the strength and the self-worth to bring about those beautiful changes that you want to bring, and know that you have a heart song, whether it's music or art or creation of a business or creation of an affinity group for an environmental agency. It doesn't matter. You have a purpose to change the world for the better. We're all here for a reason, right here, right now, this moment. It's time. The elders are calling. We are calling. The people that have woken up and risen up through that veil are calling and giving that instigation and sparking that illumination of this generation and the next. So take that with you. Don't lose that feeling of being worthy and of being in power in yourself, and knowing that you have that strength and you have that ability to be a warrior for change and for the light.
Thank you for coming on the podcast, and thanks for sharing your time and wisdom with our listeners.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you do.
Sweet, man. We're done.
That felt really good.
Good.
You've been listening to the Freio Music Podcast with Michael Morahan. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. And don't forget to share this podcast everywhere. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned.
You are listening to Freio Music.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.